Can you hear us? Chris or Mike, can you guys hear us okay?
Yep.
All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. 6:09 p.m. Did it sound like a gamble?
Yeah.
That's all that matters. We'll go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh gosh. Thank you, Mayor.
Carrie's on it. All right.
More technical. Thank you. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, my apologies. We had two after a bunch of stuff going on yesterday. We then had two sequential long meetings of, I believe, city managers, and then the county bug program, which is the internet system for public agencies in Washington County. And when Rob left, I didn't realize, but all had not. So we're doing good. Thank you very much. So
Yes. Thank you.
yes,
We're making it work.
that's right.
Yep. We'll do some roll call before we get into the meat and potatoes.
Yes, ready?
Ready?
Chair Lawson.
Present.
Vice Chair Barron.
Present.
Commissioner Bueller.
Present.
Commissioner Hunt.
Present.
Commissioner Gibson Grote.
Present.
Commissioner Amanor.
Present.
Commissioner Acquardi.
Present.
Wow, present and actually able to participate immediately. I think you had a more intensive soccer practice last time.
Yeah, it was.
And then tonight's ex officio, Mayor Linehan.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here this evening. All right. Any public comments submitted ahead of time via email?
Chair Lawson, no, there was not.
And we don't have any public attendees this evening, so we can keep moving to review and approval of last month's meeting minutes. This was September 4th meeting. It was a joint work session, collaboration session with the Chamber of Commerce. So we had a large group from the Chamber, which was very nice to meet with them, discuss some of the ongoing ideas we've had with them. We talked about kind of strengthening the business community, potential surveys for gathering feedback and data from local businesses. We talked about conducting personal visits and partnering with the Chamber to meet with business owners to better understand the business needs and any concerns, things we could leverage that they enjoy about North Plains. We both agreed to kind of get involved in this coordination effort, and that we would continue the discussion tonight and then partner with the Chamber. I think after the year is ultimately what we decided based on the holidays and whatnot coming up. We discussed our quarterly report to City Council, which we sent over, and we'll review that today. And then we also touched on the UGB relook process and advisory committee, which I will be a part of, and our first meeting is tomorrow evening. So I'll be right back here in this room.
So will we.
Yeah.
Again.
You guys should just maybe build like a cot in the back.
Just bring your comfortable clothes.
And that was pretty much the totality of what we discussed, kind of condensed a lot of discussion into that brief recap. Any go back to your questions, things we wanted to touch on from last month?
I guess let me confirm where we left with the Chamber discussion.
Yeah.
So you're right, they talked about being ready after the new year to do something. And they were going to go look at some of their website capabilities to see if we can do a survey via the website.
Yeah.
So at the moment, more in their court about next steps.
Yes, they did.
Everyone, where you left.
Cindy did confirm via email that they were able to kind of perform surveys and gather data that way. However, she had mentioned she would send us the kind of example survey, and I never received that. I don't know if
I think I
anyone
just saw the
else.
link.
Okay.
You need to find us a link.
Yeah. So I think the ball's in their court for a follow-up on that.
Okay.
And then I figured this evening we can also discuss some of the specifics that we want to look at from a survey standpoint and how that either jives or doesn't with kind of what we discussed with the chamber, because their methodology, I think, was a little different than what we were working towards. So,
Sounds good.
yeah. Anything else?
Motion to approve. I second.
All right, all those in favor of approving September's meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, say nay. All right, we have unanimously approved September's meeting minutes, and we can get rolling into some unfinished and new business this evening. The first of which we can just keep discussing some of our Chamber of Commerce follow-ups. Like we just mentioned, we kind of next steps, I think, is partnering on the survey development. Cindy and Russ were kind of spearheading that effort. It sounds like they've been working the most with their third-party website developer in terms of the capabilities, if they can issue surveys and some of those things. So yeah, fairly soon they confirmed they can issue surveys and we can run it through that website. However, I think we would want to maybe go through a couple rounds of developing the survey with them. Maybe it's something where we recommend, Jacqueline, I know you sent over kind of a rough outline of some questions we would want to ask. They were more so on the side of keeping everything very simple in terms of, I think, 3 questions total. So I don't know. I think we might be heading in the same direction. We're just thinking of it more from like a data gathering, like quantifiable, answering questions that we can look at trends. Whereas their questions were more qualitative in terms of just trying to get some feedback and more like anecdotal experience from business owners.
In-person interview settings is what I gathered.
Which would help, you know, I think what they're thinking is something we've talked about is like engaging more with business owners, kind of more boots on the ground and actually going out and meeting with business owners. So that would kind of tackle 2 things at once, being able to build relationships with business owners as well as gather some feedback from them. So I do like that aspect of it. It would just be a matter of if we would be able to get what we want to see from like a data and information gathering standpoint. If that makes sense. That's kind of where my thought process was. I don't know if there would be, we talked about maybe some middle ground could be executing the plan that they had or thought of, and then additionally sending a survey that would be maybe a bit more lengthy, quote unquote. It wouldn't be anything too overbearing, but using it in tandem with meeting with business owners.
Remind me, I think the Lori gets that we could use the North Plains business license list potentially.
Yes, yeah, she could pull that fairly easily. Is it a manual process like we're going through?
It's digital. We have a new licensing system and data tracking on it, so it's easy.
Okay.
And I also saw an invitation for trading on the website. The survey, is it possible to come here remotely?
The training?
Yeah, it looks like the one you sent is required face-to-face presence. Right? I saw I had wanted to attend that. I saw it from the chamber in relation to the website and all.
Gotcha.
Where they want to post it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm not positive on that. I would assume they would do some type of virtual training.
Yeah, no, this one.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
gotcha. Okay. We'll probably have to do some digging, to figure out if we can do that. So yeah, I'm just pulling up some of the past correspondence in terms of some of the things we wanted to follow up. And yeah, it looks like they meant to issue the survey to us for us that we can use it and whatnot, but we just haven't received that yet. So I guess the discussion tonight could be just any follow-up thoughts, topics from meeting with the chamber if we want to proceed down one path or another, whether it's developing our own survey and recommending that to the chamber and working with them, kind of finalizing that, or if we want to somewhat shift gears to kind of proceeding down the path that they were marching towards with the 3 questions and sticking to more kind of general outreach, or kind of a hybrid of both. Does anyone have any initial thoughts, strong feelings about one way or the other?
Okay, I'm gonna try to be diplomatic in my answer here. And that I really want to coordinate with the chamber and have them be partners with us. But I think we all recognize their pace is a little bit slower than maybe what we had hoped for. And I don't have an answer. I just, that's somewhat how I left the meeting, is I think we're ready to get some immediate feedback, and they're a little bit maybe more cautious and slow in their pace. So how do we maintain that partnership, but also maybe move a little faster?
That's a valid point. In terms of what I'm thinking is if we even kind of let them know, hey, we're wanting to issue this survey sooner rather than later, given the effort that they're hoping to get through, which is like coordinating the visits, and that would be more of a time-consuming effort. You know, maybe we could send out almost like an initial kind of screening survey before we do any of that. And that would be essentially just from the EDC. We might leverage the chamber's website infrastructure like that, but if that's something we wanted to keep momentum going towards, instead of waiting for another collaboration session and things like that.
Yeah, and specifically target the businesses in North Plains.
Right.
Versus the wider chamber membership.
And
There's my 2 cents on it. I'm with you on that thought.
And once we wait for the next consensus, probably if we can get a copy of like the draft of whatever they have. Right? Yeah, so we can review and be better prepared. More efficient at the next meeting.
Definitely. Jacqueline, I know you sent out, was that last meeting you sent out some survey questions that we could?
I can't remember if it was when we were sitting with them or the meeting before that, where we were just talking about it amongst ourselves. And I think I was kind of formulating survey questions as I was listening to what we were talking about, and you were giving, like, I recall you were giving suggestions on, well, let's set up a standard Likert scale. So I think I was kind of baking that into a warm proposal, not final at all, but just directionally, that was what I was hearing.
Okay.
So my understanding was that will fit into what the chamber wanted to do. So they will eventually submit like a rough draft of, you know, the kind of questions they want us to pose. So,
Okay, so I found that draft, so.
That's one of us.
I I do remember this email.
Yeah. It was on the 4th of September, so I think it was, like shortly after our meeting or during the meeting, so some of the questions that we, like you mentioned, we would establish a Likert scale throughout, so scale of 1 to 5, 1 being strongly disagree, 5 being strongly agree. What attracted you to North Plains? What challenges is your business facing? What type of business would complement your business? What support would help your marketing efforts? What would you need to help attract employees? What can the city do to support your business success? And then we would try to gather some demographic data as well. So business size, whether it's a sole proprietorship, small business, medium business, kind of categorized by number of employees. Business type, so different industries and manufacturing, restaurant, retail, et cetera. And then more locational and some of the other home-based businesses, family-owned businesses, franchisees, things like that. So yeah, I feel like that, if we stick to even like 5 or 6 questions and then some demographic questions, I don't think that's too tall of an ask for businesses to complete.
What are your, as you heard those outlined questions, what do you think?
It's definitely not overwhelming to answer those questions. I think that it would be very achievable for any business owner here. My thought is that it wouldn't be too overwhelming for somebody to look at this and say, oh yeah, and I do think they're great questions.
Do you think that the city council would, the Chamber of Commerce would be interested in adding a question at the bottom? Would you be interested in meeting with a representative of city council and or economic development council to further explore specific ideas?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because we could also, if so, send us your contact information sort of thing, or, you know, essentially that could be our initial engagement. And
it would feed into their process
right.
To get that ball rolling. Is we get who wants to talk to us.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's something we didn't really discuss. We talked about where we would try to go, who we would try to visit with. We did not really talk about who would want to visit with us. We just kind of assumed we could charm our way in there, which we can. Let me know. But
can I interject
yes,
something?
Of course. Is it about the charm?
It is about the charm. Right? Well, and I think if it's coming from this body, it might have more of a sense of community feel to it. And as you know, a chamber going in, talking to the businesses, some folks might see that as like an opportunity. Oh, you want me to join the chamber? You know, kind of a transactional thing. Where I think if you all were the ones sort of driving that conversation with the local businesses, it seems to me like it would be a great opportunity for all of you to be able to interact with the local businesses, but it's also community driven. It just feels that way to me, just hearing your conversation and hearing some of the questions that you've posed as a potential survey questions.
That's a great point too, just the kind of the optics of the survey itself and then kind of follow on. It's also, I think, now I'm kind of thinking of it as a way we can help the business community as well as help the chamber, in that we can do most of the work in terms of the survey development and issuing it and gathering the information, and then kind of supplying it if the chamber would like to see that information, instead of having it kind of be this maybe clunky joint effort. We can take the ball and kind of do the grunt work almost in order to help support the chamber in some of those efforts. Make it be kind of a win-win for both parties.
And actually, Bill, can I ask you a question?
You absolutely may.
All right, you mentioned at the end of our meeting, some of what you had seen other cities, I think EDCs do, maybe it was Chamber, do in terms of reaching out to their businesses and doing visits.
Yeah.
What kind of methodology, do they set up appointments? Do they just drop by? What's their lead into the visits?
So I see Mr. Barron really checking in on this part of it, with his background in Forest Grove Cornelius. My experience is, strictly speaking, with what used to be called the Hillsborough Chamber, now the Washington County Chamber of Commerce. Every year they have what's called the Business Walk. And it's an event. It is in the name of the chamber, but in Hillsborough, the chamber is a big deal. And the Economic Development Commission at the City of Hillsborough is City Council with a different hat on. So, but what they do is they make it a big day event, and they pair up, they get a bunch of businesses set up with times, and that you as a business member of the chamber get paired up with somebody from the city or other public official, and you go around and in pairs you visit with the businesses you're assigned and interview them with the questions in the same manner you're doing. So I like the mayor's suggestion and recommendation that it be EDC driven. But that's kind of what they do. And it's, you pair a private sector person with a public sector person of some kind, and you go out and together ask those questions of the businesses who agree to be interviewed. That's how they do it.
I've done it 2 years in the past, and so the only thing I'd say, yes, 90%, they don't actually talk to the businesses ahead of time. So the way that it works is we get a route, and it says like, I and Bill are going to cover, 2 blocks over in this business area, and they give us a list of questions, and then Bill and I would just walk into each business, just say, hey, we're from the city and chamber, and we're just here to ask some business questions and see how things are going. Is an owner in that has a few minutes to talk? I've done it 2 years, and I can tell you no one's ever chased me out. I've had some interesting conversations, some that I wish didn't last as long as others, but there was also some really good information that came out of it, and you'd be surprised at how willing business owners are just to open up their doors and to talk to you about what's going on. One of the things I was working on over here, it's not work related, it's this group related, is you earlier with the questions. I mean, you had a lot of the questions already identified, and then it's coming up with figuring out what the answers are. So I don't even know if I had the ability to do this. Let's see. Can I? Oh, I can. That's fun. So you had mentioned like what attracted me to North Plains. It seems like we have all the questions, so we just, yes.
Can you, it's on a really big screen, but it's really small print.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me make it bigger. Yeah. Let's see. Zoom 1,000 times. That is.
That should do it.
Yeah, I'll make it my full screen. There we go. Share. So it just seemed like we know the questions. It's then just starting to brainstorm some of the answers to give people that, that scale to choose from. Like, the following attracted me to North Plain. The owner resides here. How likely is that? Is it 1 that it was likely that I started my business here because of that? Or is it 5? Space was available. So it seems like, Eric, earlier you listed off a lot of really good questions. It's now just brainstorming the answers to then be able to put it into survey format and let people tell us like how likely those are. And then every single one of these is going to be, there's going to be something else. And then maybe having a comment section for those something else for the survey out to folks. But yeah, I think we should do the survey and just go full steam ahead. I think it's going to give the chamber more data. Like if they want to go out and do the more like personal one-on-one type of visit type of things with the chamber members, it'll give them some data and some information to be like, hey, the EDC was able to pull this survey together and here's what people are saying. So it's going to be a benefit to them when they go out, and they'll be like, oh, we learned so much more because they were just willing to respond to the survey and give us the details, so they can be a better chamber for the businesses as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Good call. So really, it's just gonna be a matter of deciding, okay, are these the questions we want to tackle, and then, yeah, like how do we operationalize them? How do we turn them into survey questions that capture what we're trying to gather, and then going through kind of a few test runs with it and making sure it's at a place that's good enough to send out. So some of those steps I can see maybe taking a couple meetings or work sessions or subcommittee meetings, things like that, if you want to go that route. But it sounds like we have a general consensus with just moving forward with the development of a survey, and then in the meantime, we would just have to collaborate with the chamber and keep them in the loop in terms of, hey, we're moving forward with XYZ. We still want to support the initiative of going out and meeting with business owners. We feel the survey would be beneficial to have ahead of that, et cetera, et cetera.
In terms of meeting with the business owners, do we have an idea of the reach that we want to cover? Like in terms of like the reach in terms of at the moment, if we have an idea of the total number of small businesses we have enough place, like what percentage do we entail, or are we just going to focus on the street? Yeah, at the junction. Yeah. You know, so what is our plan in relation to that?
I think we would probably pull a list of business locations and decide if we want to like, divide and conquer or go as kind of a smaller group to lay out the plan, a route that we could take, and
like specific people assign specific
businesses.
Yeah.
And I can see some of our industrial businesses, we may need to actually schedule an appointment to make sure there's someone there and they're available. But absolutely, we're visiting them as well as retail and food service businesses.
Yeah. I do like the idea of the business walk of kind of having more kind of like spontaneous and candid conversations without scheduling something. I just don't want it to turn into a nuisance of having people come in their door asking a bunch of questions.
But Chris, it sounds like your experience was positive. Yeah.
Yeah, very positive. It was positive for me as a participant. I think the businesses as well. A lot of it was all volunteers. So I think that's a big piece of it too, is like, it's not, the chamber staff wasn't going out. They had it set up to where it's volunteers that are going out. And so you have this big like volunteer sign on, and you're just like, hey, I'm a volunteer from the chamber. I'm another business owner myself, or I work for a business. And so it was just kind of like, oh, it's just another business owner that's coming in to talk to me, that's interested. So yeah, I think totally a good experience.
Okay. So I think that particular topic could be something we probably discuss with the chamber when we meet with them potentially next year, in terms of like how we want to structure all that, because I don't think they had it completely hashed out, the specific details. Sounded like so.
All right, so next step, you mentioned maybe even as subcommittees, we could get together and do some work on the survey. Any ideas on how we could divide and conquer with our two subcommittees?
No, three subcommittees.
Three subcommittees, sorry. Well, you've got
the
you've got
third
the time tomorrow.
Yeah, is it something anyone's passionate about per se, in terms of, I think what would be most helpful is just, I can send out this document again. We can, okay. And then from there, whether it's one of the subcommittees or both subcommittees working together to just get like a rough draft, and that can be through different survey softwares, or just like a Word doc where we break out the framework of it all.
Can I extend on your proposal to just appoint 2 people? To
limit it, yes.
To limit it, like if
Maybe
2
not.
people could get together.
A new subcommittee.
A subcommittee on this, or just 2 people agree that they're gonna draft something in like Google Docs. So it could be share it, and then when we get here, we'd like draft it. We'd like bring it back. Yeah.
Also, so that doesn't mean we are setting aside what we started with the chamber at the last meeting. But I thought when we made it, they were supposed to come up with some drafts, right?
Yeah, and they had 3 questions that they proposed we would ask in the, it was less of a survey, and those were just the questions when we were meeting with the business owners that we would ask. But then I know they wanted to validate that their website could issue surveys from the website and in the system. However, it sounds like we want to kind of go our more of an independent route, in which case we wouldn't leverage the chamber's website. We would probably just use some software of our own, whether it's SurveyMonkey or Perceptyx or other survey tools, to issue it out based on the city's permitting list, rather than like a chamber list. I think that's my understanding of where we're going.
Follow-up question. So if 2 people still draft proposal, if 2 people are working on the question set, would like Lori be available to use SurveyMonkey to execute it, or somebody on our team's figuring out literally how to send out the survey?
I mean, you're the EDC, so you're an advisory committee of the city, so staff can work with you on that. That's not a problem. We have every business in town is a water customer, so we have their address and contact info. So isn't anything we publish, but we would certainly kind of put together a contact list and how to contact them, sort of thing. So we can work with you on that.
And the actual like building the SurveyMonkey, I'm just trying to like, that's kind of a different skill set than getting the questions ready. Does somebody else want to work on like, how are we going to get that done technically?
I don't.
That third committee, you got that. Well, 2 other people like get the questions that's drafted for like response.
Yes.
Okay.
So I can certainly help with, I've like done it before, so I can help with like actually getting it into a tool, a survey tool. If other members want to help drafting out the questions, and to like Chris's point, how we want to, if we do want to go down the kind of that Likert scale path, then how we want to actually state the questions themselves or statements, because that in of itself is a whole science.
Yes,
So,
as in how important were each of these to your decision to locate in North Plains, for example?
yeah, we want to make sure we're actually like getting like valid data on what we're trying to gather. So I think that would make sense. So if anyone, okay, so I volunteer to get it into some type of survey tool.
Okay.
And then I'll work with Lori.
Lisa, do you want me to volunteer to work with Lori on getting the list together?
That too, that would work.
To at least, yeah, I can do something.
Okay.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
It sounds like we have some.
Yep. Is that what you have printed out?
Yeah.
Man, he's got it printed out.
Oh.
Someone
I was like the last person to put my hands on it.
David got ink and toner and fresh paper in the printer. Just to...
So can I I ask a question? When we are talking about, I feel like there's two different things. I feel like there's a boots on the ground type approach, but then also the actual survey, which are two different things. Like, are we talking about with people, with us going to certain businesses, we're like physically getting that documentation kind of sort of in a candid way, saying here, you know, and kind of going over the survey with them? Or are we talking about two different things?
I think it would be like kind of a phased approach of phase one, we would like electronically send them the survey.
Okay.
They would hopefully fill it out. We would gather some information from them. We would also get a pulse on if they would like to meet with us.
Okay, okay.
And
so
then,
it's more of an invitation
yeah.
type.
Kind of
Yeah.
post holidays, I heard, that's kind of a Q1 2025, then get the visits.
Got it. Okay, okay. Yeah, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I'm sorry.
Oh,
yes, okay, yes, that is for you too.
And then, yeah, the second phase, Dorothy phases, but as we move into phase two, we'll then like start actually working with the chamber and going out and meeting with businesses. And, at that point, I think if they don't have the information they need or that they wanted to gather in their kind of 3 questions, I think that would be an opportunity to follow up and get more.
Verbally.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay.
And I was, even though I think we were a little skeptical about our survey we did back in 2019, I think is that what we did?
Yeah.
I was actually impressed by how many responses we got. We got a decent number of responses. So I hope we will do so again.
Yes, I agree. And that was one question I was gonna ask. Bill, do you recall how that, like logistically was sent out to the businesses?
Chair Lawson, no, I don't, to be perfectly honest. Once it got to the, actually, when I started the job, the survey results had just come in.
Gotcha.
Andy had done that,
Okay.
and he was like, here, look at these results. Oh, we did a survey?
I know we had distribution for it, but I don't know what,
Yeah.
how it got sent out.
So I saw the results. I was there, my first chamber meeting, I think luncheon was actually him reviewing the results of the survey.
Okay.
So I was on the back end of it. I'm pretty sure he just took on,
We should know this, but we don't.
yeah, I'm pretty sure Andy just took on doing it.
Okay. With a list that I think Lori came up with.
Probably.
I know it was in SurveyMonkey, so likely they either just emailed a SurveyMonkey link
There it is.
or.
Mhm.
To their they had a list of
Yeah.
licenses, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is probably how it happened.
Okay,
Do you need that document
the survey,
from 2019?
or do you have
That's,
the
like,
email of how it?
Whoa.
Oh, is that the results?
The results.
We did go
Okay,
through
I
the
think we have,
results.
yes, I think we have that.
You have
Wow.
that? Okay.
That is
Thank you.
impressive.
I don't delete anything out of my It's
Apparently
it's
Jack-
frowned upon in my position.
No comment.
So as far as drafting surveys, is there passionate people?
I like this. So,
What,
that's
you do
it.
jobs?
Yeah, I could, also,
Are you having
I'll
a
have-
class right now on qualitative
Yes, I
analysis?
You're nominated. You
Apply-
and you can pick
apply
whatever
data.
partner you want.
Well, mine, let's see, my class was when my daughter was like 1 and she's 21 now, so it's been a little bit from my class.
I can take a swing at, like, building out the draft kind of framework. And then if everyone's fine waiting until next meeting to review it.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
Chris, if
Eric, I'm
you.
happy to meet you at one of the bars and work with you on it.
David, I don't know if you're a like survey passionate person or you're like, go Chair Lawson. I'll review your work and
Oh, yeah.
critique it.
He can come up with a draft.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent. I'll sit over there and you guys.
Hey, there you go.
Okay, so if that is, if we have a good kind of draft outlined by the November meeting, then we could hypothetically get it into like a survey tool in the meantime, Lisa, you're working with city staff on gathering the distro list.
I can do that.
And hopefully then by December, we can send out a,
Early in December, so we're not
Yeah.
into the holidays.
like, I think if we meet December for our meeting, so the first Wednesday, and then like from that meeting, we kind of are like, okay, here's the survey, we have it in this tool, we have the contact list, it's ready to go. So that sound feasible?
Yeah.
I like, is there any communication back to the chamber and at what point?
I think that can probably happen right now in terms of just keeping them in the loop. Hey, this is the path we would like to go down. Sending out this survey, gathering data for our own commission's benefit that we will share with you. And we feel this is a nice, I'll use the term phased approach to that kind of like preface to all the work that they're wanting to do with like boots on the ground.
Yep.
So it's in the chamber.
Wow, okay, can we?
Unless someone wants to
No, sounds
send an
great.
email.
Sounds great.
We kind of combined the first two items. The last item is the city council quarterly report and review that I do eventually want to get to. But before we do that, want to make sure we go through the plan one more time. We'll create a draft. Chris and I at the bar will outline everything by November. We'll review it at that meeting. Hopefully by that time we'll have a contact list, or at least
Yes.
we'll start.
In the meantime, yep, we'll have that.
Yeah, I just don't know how long of a process it is to query that data.
That's between you and Lori.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So,
Let's plan on having it.
okay,
do
we'll
it.
plan on having that.
Okay.
So we'll have that. We'll review the survey more thoroughly. And then we'll also, just in the meantime, keep the chamber in the loop on what our plan is going forward. And then between November and December, we'll get it into a survey tool and kind of get it prepped so that we can just press the button following our December meeting. Is everyone, as far as we know, going to be present for the November and December meetings? No. Holidays can be tough.
The one on January 1st, I don't know.
That one I think will
I think is that what it was?
It is, I think, the first on a Wednesday.
For the first, yeah.
Those look good to me.
Okay,
I like it.
excellent.
And we want to know what grade you get in the class.
Got a 4.0.
Oh.
Yep. Alrighty, the only other item, so item A and B was Chamber of Commerce follow-up discussion, and then B, business survey discussion. So we, like I said, we kind of tackled both those items with that good discussion. And then lastly, the City Council quarterly report review. We sent out the draft, and then the finalized version was sent over to city staff for review and feedback. If we did not have anything in terms of feedback, then I think we're probably good to schedule time with the council to either send to the council. We talked about kind of doing a joint effort of sending it electronically for their agenda packet, as well as being present to review. And the report was kind of like an all-encompassing of what we've been working on for the past year. I can run through it if anyone wants a refresher, but it was just pretty much everything we've been working on.
Great recap. I didn't even remember we had done all that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It was very helpful. We went through kind of some milestones that we had been working on at the end of last meeting, so that was very helpful to try to remember everything and conceptualize like what to call everything that we've been working on. We made some good progress as a group. I feel like,
I know.
right?
From our evolution in our early days to where we're now, I think we're making great progress.
And if there's something that we could do at the end of each meeting or quarterly that helps put that together, because we just mark it and get it into the notes, so it's, you know, that even maybe where I can pull it back out for you in draft.
Yes. I'm wondering if we start on our EDC Google Drive, we start like a working document where we just document everything we've been working
Just
on.
pull it up at the end of every meeting and make note.
Yeah. Just really get like a OneNote going or something.
Sounds like it's similar to that spreadsheet that we have, and that comes back as Sandy created.
Is anybody
Keeps
ready to use
track
Google
of,
Ballot and
you know,
meetings?
like,
The business calendar.
yeah.
People in meetings with us started.
But we need to
I don't
really
know.
very,
It just transcribes the whole meeting and
Yeah.
ask it to summarize and it just summarizes.
Send the notes.
That's my job.
Oh, we will.
I'm extremely worried. Who's gonna take down action items?
Rob's not
It
even
doesn't
worried.
have a gavel, so that's so your position secure.
Sorry.
He has a mission. It's good.
No, it's good.
I'm all for leveraging AI tools.
We're proposing that the city acquire Copilot for your meeting,
Copilot?
Copilot?
a Microsoft Word product.
It might not be cheap.
I was gonna say.
We can look into that. I know, I honestly, as a matter of fact, speaking, Lori has explored different tools for minutes keeping and that. So yes, we've been looking to that.
Okay.
Any questions about the quarterly report?
When are we going to do it and who is going to be our representative?
Great questions. Mr. Reed, are there any, off the top of your head, upcoming city council meetings that would be most maybe beneficial and or ex officio?
I think as an agenda item, just to go over these things, it's probably pretty easy at any future meeting.
Okay.
Luckily, I know someone who sets the agenda at these meetings.
So, and you actually turn to the
So, but the reality is that this update is, I mean, I don't, you could disagree, but I think this is just a nice add to the agenda, and it's a conversation, but it's.
You know, the second meeting of every month is staff night, you know, staff report. So it does get a little heavy there. So if, on a quarterly basis, I would almost say, let's target the first city council meeting of the month.
Okay.
You know, in looking at a quarter calendar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want the library's update to get in the way of your update.
Yeah. Let's speed it up, I guess.
Okay, so it looks like we already missed, oh, no, is the 7th?
Probably, yeah, it might be too late for that because the agenda, everything should be going out in the packet. So, we could make, an exception on the 21st, you know, the second meeting of this month.
And then try to get on.
And then get on a schedule. Maybe after the first of the year, just be on a schedule.
That way you'll know your competition, like, how exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, I just assumed it was a chair job.
Oh,
We said we would rotate.
it could be an ex officio.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could rotate it. Yeah.
Got it.
It's another good way for the council to just hear from each one of you.
That's super nice. I like
Yeah.
that.
Okay, like that, so the first.
Unless, of course, Eric, I mean, that's Eric's call.
If
You're
I
not
had the
really.
gavel in my hand. No,
Unless of course you had to.
I like the rotation idea that we had. So we'll plan on the 21st.
The 21st.
appreciate you.
And we won't put you at the last part of the meeting.
Okay. That would be excellent.
So you can sneak out. Well, whoever.
But
Whoever.
I'll do
oh,
first.
after finance.
And then it's probably the co-chair.
That way they can hear how little money.
Right.
To do all this.
Yeah.
And city council usually starts at 7, correct?
Correct.
All right.
We have a work session.
All right.
Okay.
Accomplishments. We've got a plan.
Any other topics you wanted to discuss? I will be representing the EDC at the UGB Relook Committee inaugural meeting tomorrow evening.
Could anyone give us an update on how the participants shaped out and what the format is for the performance?
I can pull up some information.
You would know.
I'm sorry.
He's not listening.
No. I was writing minutes. Sorry, please repeat.
I was letting the commission members know that I'll be representing the EDC at the UGB Relook meeting tomorrow night. And Lisa was asking how the actual advisory committee selection process went and how that wrapped up, as well as how it's going to be structured.
Yeah.
Can we forward like the charter and that information to this group?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, it's
Yep.
public.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's on
the website.
That's right. It is on the website, but I'd be happy to
It's on the
to
website.
forward that. But it is on the website. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. here, the UGB Relook Advisory Committee, or as we affectionately call it, the RAC, will be meeting. It has 19 members. We only have 3 members returning from the previous UGB Advisory Committee.
Hey.
Exactly.
Only three?
Oh, sure.
Only 3. 2 of them are in this room.
Wow.
Who's the third?
Well, maybe,
Wow.
the third member is Rudy Kedler.
Okay.
Okay.
Housing, planning, all that fun stuff. So, only 3 returning members. So anyway, Steve Faust with 3J Consulting, he facilitated those advisory committee meetings, and then he was the city's kind of project lead on the public process for UGB expansion ordinance through planning commission and city council twice. And he'll be facilitating these discussions. He actually has just as much background in discussion and facilitation as he does in actual planning. I like to remind folks that Steve's background is actually in peace studies. It's not actually in land use planning per se, exactly. So he is a conversation and reach consensus guy through and through, with an emphasis in community development and land use and things like that. So he's a very good person to continue to have helping us out here. There are 19 members. We have everybody, every board or commission, including city council, has a seat on the committee, and each of the people representing those bodies are there really kind of represent views of that particular body or commission and then report back during the process. We have we expanded the committee to include 8 residents at large, reflecting various viewpoints about how they might have voted on the referendum back in May. We do have 2 people on the committee who were not able to vote, and represent people who couldn't vote on the referendum, but they're residents, they're taxpayers, so their voices should be heard, and they represent others who are in that situation. So we have 2 members representing themselves personally on the committee that way, and then residents that voted against the referendum, 1 that voted for, and then we just have some other at large, regardless of how they voted or what have. let's see. Other highlights from the committee. We have one. I'm sorry?
South of 26.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. We have one member who is a representative of the expansion area south of Highway 26. That area, those are the exception lands for North Plains, which means there's no way around going south first, no, by Oregon state law. So we have somebody who lives there that we've added to the committee. And then we also have added a representative from unincorporated 97133 to be on the committee. So we actually have somebody from outside the community. And with the intent of having somebody who represented concern, caution, maybe opposition to the idea. That's the viewpoint that we're expecting and looking for. You know, that's the plan to see. So
someone who is a 97133 resident
outside the city boundaries, correct, unincorporated. And those are the highlights of the membership on the committee, I would say. And there's a few others, but that's kind of so we expanded it. It's 19 members now. And then we'll have some public agency ex officio members, Washington County, somebody from PLCD. I haven't heard back from ODOT still. They're super busy. Maybe we had somebody from ODOT before during the process, and hopefully some of the meetings will happen with them. We're looking at having 3 or 4 committee meetings, but we're also looking at having kind of community workshops, and we're going to alternate them over the next few months. With the goal of wrapping things up by the end of the year, but you know, we're going to have a lot of questions and that sort of thing. So we don't want to spend any more time on the process. We're just looking for a recommendation from this purely advisory body, but you know, there will be conversation, and we'll try to be responsive to comments and things like that. So Mayor, anything else about the committees?
No, I think you covered, yeah, you pretty much covered it. So it's great. And the public will have an opportunity to comment.
Yep.
You know, they will be in the room, and they will have time at the end of the meetings. You know, we'll take 15 minutes or whatever. Mm-hmm. And if folks have comments, they will be heard. So.
And what exactly is the format of the meeting? How, with that many participants, how is it going to be coordinated?
The details of that answer are in some of the documents that I'll send. Like, one is a very detailed scope of what each meeting, how it will work and what it hopes to accomplish, and then what each workshop will do. But the bottom line is it's meant, there's no way around, at least for the first couple of meetings, to just, unfortunately, folks are going to need to be drinking from the fire hose of information. We have state law. We have what the city has done and why and adopted, driving an urban growth boundary expansion. Mm-hmm. We have land suitability findings about the lands around us, about where we can even expand, and what, you know, according to state requirements for how to consider what could be, you know, where land should be brought in or not based on that scoring criteria. And then we just kind of have to go over what does the state require of the city in terms of how much of this land must it bring in and what type, and how much of it can you do some of, not all of, and then ultimately and then conversation about that, questions about that, and then ultimately we'll be going towards three different potential scenarios for a new urban growth boundary, and we'll have a community workshop around that. Kind of, this is one option, this is option B, this is option C, this is what this one means, this is what this one means, this is what this one means, to kind of get input and feedback about it. And then ultimately it'll be a recommendation for which of those scenarios or modified scenarios the body recommends to council.
And the education piece and the community piece and the public outreach piece, 3J will have a living FAQ. So there'll be an FAQ on the website, on the the RELOC page on the city's website will be live. The FAQ, after each meeting, when folks have questions, that they, you know, either they're answered at the meeting or answered after as follow-up, you know, so folks will have a place to go and get the information. It'll be Zoom, it'll be accessible to everybody, right? I mean, you know, we'll do everything that we can to make sure that it's, you know, very accessible to folks and that sort of thing. So it might be administratively, you know, just making sure that folks get emails and get notices and that sort of thing. I'm going to feel for staff and especially Lori, but we've really want to just make sure it's out there in the universe and that everybody has access to it. And questions, I think the most important thing is the FAQ, you know, like that, and the follow-up questions to make sure that, you know, we might get those answers to those questions sooner than the public, but we'll make sure that those then get transcribed over to the website so that they see that the answer to any questions that might be out there.
One thing I will add to that, thank you, Mira. One of the community workshops, we will have senior GLCD staff there to just clarify and hopefully get rid of some of the fog for the community questions and you know, all that. So that'll be great. And then you might be aware of this, maybe not, I can't remember. We're working on one of the meetings of the advisory committee to have a panel of planning directors from other smaller communities that went through an urban growth boundary expansion or done and have begun to kind of relay what the experience was like. You know, did people develop immediately, or was there a long time, or, you know, all just kind of also clear some fog regarding what does a UGB expansion even mean? We have a lot of confusion over UGB expansion, annexation, development, all three completely different things over a completely different timeline. People are going to be forced off their land. People are going to be forced to stop. No. There are still unincorporated islands in the city of Hillsborough, you know, that just have still chosen not to incorporate.
Really hope to just, you know, to take some of those myths, some of those questions that folks throw out there in the universe and I don't know what's a great word for it. Just bust it open. Just seriously.
And I see a lot of news about Northern Hillsborough. Is it referring to North Plains?
Is there a what?
Northern Hillsborough.
Not in Hillsborough?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, most of the news.
Yeah, people
realize they are referring to similar to this urban growth expansion, but I don't see North Plains, but I see Northern Hillsborough. So sometimes I'm a bit confused that they referring to Plains or.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be referring to North Plains as North Hillsborough if it's a reputable news article. I think, was the context that they don't want to turn into North Hillsborough?
No, it's about this semiconductor expansion project. I think there are some projects, they need some data centers. I think the governor, is trying to meet for that, the data center to come to Northern Hillsborough.
Gotcha. Right. That should be North Hillsborough.
Yeah, so they need about 600 acres.
Yeah.
For that.
And thank you. One of the meetings we'll talk about that, because there's some city economic self-determination here about expanding a UGB, because we have a neighbor who is very important to the semiconductor industry, obviously, but they're moving our direction. And so the community has a choice about grow, not grow, let it get closer and closer, or does this city plan for some of that to be here instead of it all going there sort of thing, so.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and concerning the Red Look Advisory Committee, I'll be there tomorrow to, as a resident and voting member.
Oh, you were on the,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay, so I expect some.
I think
And me too,
myself
so
and,
we're well
yes.
Oh, I expect a great,
Yeah.
a great report back from all of them. Okay.
So now it's a two-person committee.
Yes. We had-
No, we're not expanding the EDC.
Just did that.
No, I'm kidding. We just did that.
Just did that.
His subcommittee is down to 3 people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Any other questions or topics to touch on this evening? Chris or Michael on the line? I want to open it up to you guys too.
You're a trooper, Chris.
He's still here.
COVID sucks. Get your shots.
I did on Saturday.
Good job.
I'm going Friday.
All right, David, anything? Amy, anything down there? All right.
No.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Ex Officio, thank you for being here this evening.
Absolutely. It's always my pleasure.
Yeah.
This is a great group to hang out with. So I appreciate you. Thank
Of
you.
course. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Reed, for filling in 2 roles at once
Absolutely.
with 2 computers.
Feel better, Chris.
Mhm.
All right, we'll go ahead and adjourn 7:15 PM.
All right.
Thanks,
Sounds
everyone.
Thank you.
That's my end of the Zoom voice. Bye.
I know, I say the same thing every single time. Bye.
Have a good day.
Yep.